Hello everyone, welcome to mathematics tutorial. So today we will discuss about quadratic equations. So when we say quadratic equation, it is a second degree equation. So second degree, when you say second degree, so the exponent is 2. So the general form of quadratic equation is ax squared plus bx plus c. Ito yung general equation of a quadratic equation or general form. So because of this exponent, so that is why it is quadratic equation, second degree equation. Next, there are two kinds of quadratic equations. So number one, that is complete quadratic equation. So when we say complete, so complete from the word itself, complete. So that is example, that is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. It is the example of complete quadratic equation. We have the value of a, b, and c. So where a is not equal to 0. So dapat hindi ito equal to 0 kasi pag equal to 0 itong first term natin, magiging linear equation na yan. And this a, b, and c are constant. Tandaan, a, b, and c are constant. Then it is, hence a is a quadratic coefficient. Ito first term is a quadratic coefficient. B is a linear coefficient. Tandaan, it is quadratic coefficient, linear coefficient, and c is the constant. How about incomplete quadratic equation? So what are the examples? So number one, we have ax squared plus c is equal to 0. So that is incomplete quadratic equation, but still it is a quadratic equation because of the second degree ito exponent. And this one, ax squared plus bx equals 0. It is incomplete quadratic equations, but then the exponent is 2, so that is still a quadratic equation, second degree equation. And last is ax squared equals 0. So ito, still it is a quadratic equation, but it is incomplete quadratic equation. Next, we have to determine the value of a, b, and c. So in this given example, 3x squared plus 6 equals 0, find the value of a. So ang a, so a is the quadratic coefficient. Ang value ng a is quadratic coefficient, merong exponent na 2. So we have, so the value of a is 3. How about b? B, it is the linear coefficient, merong variable. So that is wala, so that is 0. Yung c is constant, so that is positive 6. And this one, example for number 2, 2x squared minus 5x equals 0. So the value of a is 2. The value of b is, okay, merong variable, so negative 5. And yung constant natin, since walang constant, so that is 0. So how to solve a quadratic equation? So there are properties in solving quadratic equations. So there are 4 properties. So we have quadratic formula, factoring, and completing the square. And number 4, square root property. So quadratic formula. So what is the quadratic formula? So quadratic formula is x equals negative b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So that is the formula of the quadratic equation. Quadratic formula. Quadratic formula where this one, b squared minus 4ac is the discriminant. So how the discriminant determines the roots of the quadratic equation. So based on this discriminant, malalaman natin yung roots of the quadratic equation. Number 1, if b squared minus 4ac is greater than 0, the equation has two different real roots. Tandaan, if the discriminant is greater than 0, so there are two different real roots. And if number 2, if the discriminant is equal to 0, so the equation has no real roots. Tandaan, if the discriminant, if b squared minus 4ac equals to 0, so there are no real roots. Tandaan, I know, if the discriminant is equal to 0, there are 1. Tandaan, 1 real roots. 1. And last, we have, if the discriminant is less than 0, ito, no real roots. Tandaan, no real roots. So malalaman natin yung roots ng quadratic equation by the discriminant. Number 1, if the discriminant is greater than 0, so there are two different real roots. If the discriminant is equal to 0, so there are 1 real roots. And if the discriminant is less than 0, no real roots. So in next video, we will focus on number 1, finding the roots using quadratic formula. Please share this video. Thank you.